What's going on, guys? So I'm gonna make some shorter form videos doing different sections of work on the 72 Chevelle. Today we're gonna put in our vintage air condenser assembly, and then in another video we'll do the evaporator. So stay tuned. Alrighty, well, I opened the box already. Show you what we get in here. You get your instructions, of course, bracket that mounts your accumulator, dryer, receiver, all bunch of hardware. They always give you a two-way binary switch. We opt to upgrade to the trinary switch because this will control your compressor and your fans in relation to the pressures in the system, as long as your AC is commanded on. It's a good little thing to integrate into all the systems. They give you the lines, they give you whatever hard lines you need to do this hookup. That's the accumulator dryer assembly, and of course your condenser. Now, as always, flip through your instructions first, familiarize yourself with everything that's going on there, because on this one we do have to drill, where's the template, this hole on the top of the radiator core support. Alright, so step one that I don't have to do because we don't have a radiator or a cooling system or anything, condenser, factory stuff, all that stuff in here, is to remove all that stuff. Step two, they have you pull off your factory hood latch because there's a bracket that gets sandwiched between your core support and the latch. 9 out of 10 times, if you undo these two, you should be able to open this up enough to slide that bracket in there. It's just this bracket right here. It attaches to the top of your condenser like so. And then these two holes, it's going to mount up through here, but will bolt through those two holes. So this slides in between your core support and this latch. And I don't really want to remove this latch, so we are going to try that method where I take these two out and then we can get this up and in when it's on the condenser. Alright, so I got those two bolts out of there in preparation for that. And then I cut out and installed their template, and I have to drill a 1 1/4 inch hole right there. Well, if you know me, you know how much I love drilling through paint, but our grommet pass-through is in there now. Alright, we're going to start with some bracket assembly. First is putting our accumulator holder / bracket on this side, and watch the instructions because there's two different size ports here. You want the number 8 up top and the number 6 down bottom. So then we're going to go through and use some of their hardware. They show you, for the most part I have found, because these, holes straight across here, but the pictures are pretty accurate to tell you what holes they got to go in and everything, along with the center brace. And this one I believe uses a brace over here and one on the bottom as well. So just follow those and put all your hardware in. And just like that, that one is on there. So I'm going to go through this as I go with my heat gun and remove all these stickers, because nothing is more ugly than having a nice, fresh, clean build and having stickers like this all over it, because there's one on every single bracket, the lines, everything. So we're going to remove all those too as I go. Alright, now I'm going to mount this top bracket up to here. One thing I never noticed in the instructions, it tells you, note, the bracket mounts to the outside of the flange, yes, which we all know. It gives you the orientation, because this one has a bend where the bend's going to be, front and back. But it tells you through the 7th and 11th holes from the left side of the condenser. Never knew that. And I put like 18 of these things in this year alone. Alright, now we're on to the bottom bracket. Top one is bolted in. One thing I also noticed is, so they tell you from the front. So we're mounting this bracket this way, they tell you this many over from the left. Now, because we are flipping this over, they tell you this many over from the right. So it's 5 and 13 from the right. And if you ever wanted to do a quick verification, if you'll notice, this one is exactly straight up from this one. And that's because the top bolt mounts to this right here, and the bottom bolt mounts to this right here, which are directly up and down from each other. Also, I just realized I am going to have to just remove this all the way out because I forgot. So the condenser goes on the front side of the core support, and I am not kitty cornering that thing through here and in with those upper and lower brackets on it. So here we go. So last but not least is this other support bracket that goes over here. Goes through from the left, holes number 18 and 20 right there. So I'm going to bolt those in, and then we're also hanging our accumulator dryer. All right, so here's our accumulator. If you'll notice, there's a flow direction on this. There's your flow direction once it's pointing towards the outside, so we're going to mount this way with the sticker down. And actually 9 out of 10 times, this is how this thing mounts, with the sticker down like that. Bong, bong. All right, so let me put this in there. All right, so the height where you're going to put this in this bracket is going to be determined by your lines that come off and go to whichever fittings they go to, because the lines are all pre-bent. So leave this loose so you can move it up and down some until you get those lines in. And with that being said, next up is your lines. First one is going to be your lower line here, which, how I told you, everything is pre-bent, pretty cool. There are no O-rings in these ends yet when you take these caps off. They give you all of your O-rings, so do not forget to put those in or you're going to have a bad day. Also, the first time you remove either of these caps off the condenser, they ship the condenser pressurized and sealed. You have seals in each one of these, so when a whole bunch of air comes rushing out, don't be alarmed. What you should be alarmed at is if no air comes rushing out, because that means you got a hole somewhere, which probably happened during shipping, hopefully not during quality control checks. All right, so once you get that on there, finger tight as far as you can get it, and this one finger tight as far as you can get it, now your height of this is set to where it needs to be. Now you can fully tighten these, and you can tighten this down, because the next step is we're putting it into the car, because the next two lines have to be put on when this whole unit's in the car. Alrighty, here we go, sliding this thing in here. Always fun. So, as you can see, there's no possible way I would have been kitty cornering this thing in. So, let me get this between the lower mount there. There we go. And, as I said, those two bolts. Let me go grab one of my bolts. So you're gonna stay there like a good doggy? Okay. I'm going to grab 2 bolts actually for my 2 up here, just to hold this thing where it needs to be while I am trying to get everything to be lined up. So, come on, there we go. A little heavy on this end where the accumulator is. Alright, so that's one. Grab the other one out of here. Oh, there's an Allen wrench in my pocket too. I didn't even know that. And 2. Alright, so let me grab you off the stand and I'm going to show you real quick what else we have to do. So these are your 2 stock holes for the upper latch. They have you drill and put 2 sheet metal screws in there, and this lower one down here, which I hope I have you pointed at, where is it, this one? You have to drill and put a supplied screw in that one too. And after I get all those in, then I can take these out, put my latch back in here, and then we'll work on the lines that have to go up over through that. Okay, so I've got my 2 top bolts in and snugged up, and that 1 bottom bolt, so that has this thing completely located where it needs to be. So now that that's there, I'm going to use the holes that they have here for templates, for putting in my 2 screws up here and my 1 other screw down the bottom, and you don't need to see that because that's just boring stuff. Then I'll bring you back when we are ready to put these lines on. Alright, so those are all in, and rather than putting 2 self-tapping sheet metal screws in there like they wanted, I put 2 button heads in there, so it's going to look all nice and neat because you're going to see those, and we'd have all nice stainless button heads in this area and then 2 crappy sheet metal screws there. Don't like that. All right, let me look up what's next. It's either put my latch back in or put these lines in. And it is put the latch back in. So let me drop this thing back into place. All right, we're up to the two final lines, your number 8 and your number 6 line. And to do those, you're going to pop that grommet back out that we put in earlier. I just put it in there to make sure everything fit in. As you can see, it's split. So this is going to go in after you get both of the lines passed through here. So first one up, they say, is to do the number 6. So let me throw a couple of O-rings on that line and bring it over here. All right, and by a couple of O-rings, I meant just one O-ring, because the other O-ring would go on this side, but we don't got no lines in here yet. So this is going to mount in here just like so through the hole. So we're going to fish this through, and then it goes right down onto your accumulator dryer. And I'm going to hand tighten this in, and then I'm going to go get our number 8 pipe and put an O-ring on it and fish that one in next. All right, now our number 8 line. This is going to go through as such. Does not matter which line is on top, which line is on bottom. It's however they fit in there is best, and it looks like this is going to fit in with the big line on top, small line on bottom. So this is going to be super fun to get this in there. Let me take off this piece just to slide this thing through. And there we go. And now we'll put this into that number 8 port on the condenser itself. Get this thing started. There we are, we're started. All right, so now I'm going to go on this side and open this up and put it over both of these lines and put it back into my core support. And there we go. Coming through on that side looking like that. And there goes my phone, of course. I will tell you, once you get an area where you're trying to push this through and everything, a little dab of silicone lube makes it so much easier, because otherwise the metal grabs that, and if you move a little bit, it pulls it right back through again, and you're back at square one. Last thing we have to do is we're going to take off this outer nut from our accumulator, and you're using one of two things. So if you are using a mechanical fan, you don't need fan control. So you can get away with using just the 2-prong controller for your AC compressor. If you're using an electrical fan or an electric fan, there it is, there it goes. Your best bet is this, because as I said, this will control the output to your fan relays separate from your existing powertrain. So the way I do these is, this is going to have a terminator. Other vehicles may have a stock GM computer. The terminator or the stock computer is still going to control the fans temperature-wise for your radiator. But what this does is, along with your computer controlling your cooling fans, this will also control them, but only based on AC pressure. Once the pressure rises to a certain level, it kicks on the fans, and it'll also disengage your compressor. So it does what the 2-prong does, with the added benefit of controlling the fan as well, pressure related. Why didn't I just say that the first time? But that will unscrew that little block off, and this will go right in place of that. And there we go. Now the wiring for this trinary switch is very easy. You have 4 wires that come off of the switch. That is it right here. One of the blue doesn't matter, because there's 2 blue wires, 2 black with green, and it doesn't matter which ones you use here. One of the blue wires goes directly to chassis ground. The other blue wire is a ground wire for the trigger side of your fan relay. One of the black and green wires, that's your turn on. So on your vintage air kit, they will have a blue wire that comes all the way out here. That's your turn on. That's what turns on your AC compressor. The other black and green wire will then go to your air compressor or AC compressor. So all this is basically is a dual pole pressure switch that will turn your fans on and off, and will turn your AC on and off by those specs right there. So that's all you get for this video, because we were just doing the front half. So that is your install on a front half, 70 to 72, it's Chevelle, and I believe Monte Carlo as well. If I can flip through this paper with one hand. Where is it? Yes, 70 to 72 Chevelle Monte Carlo condenser kit. One thing I'll tell you, if you have a car, so this car was not an AC car originally. If it was, this hole would be here. You would just have to enlarge it a little, because I believe it's like 1 inch and it needs to be 1 1/4 for the lines that they use. This is pretty much the setup that they have on all of their conversions. I can actually show you the one over here on the 71 C10 right now, which is basically the same thing. Oh, almost one-handed it. There we go. Little bit different bracket setup for the application, but same thing with the switch, same thing with your 2 lines, and these ones just go down here instead of up here. And I mean, that's it. They're a pretty universal solution. They're a kick-ass HVAC system. We've done, I don't know, we're getting close to 50 of them now that I've put in. And we haven't even gotten into the crazy customization stuff that you can do, because you can do all kinds of custom inside vents, custom controls. One of the Chevelles we worked on for high octane had it. There's an add-on kit from Dakota Digitals that turns it into functioning climate control. So you set it to a certain temperature, and it has temp sensors at all the vents and everything, and it will alter itself. Like you set it for 75, it'll alter the heat, and if you want, it'll alter the mode, so defrost, floor, or dash, and it'll do it by itself, alternate between all those to keep your temperature at 75. It's a pretty trick. It's not anything we're going to use, because we usually, I mean, the basic system is more than enough. It's already way nicer than what came in the vehicles originally. So with that, there you go. That's your install. I don't know what more to say. Stick around. We'll do the inside half in another video.